Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to another edition of APAC Dialogue. We have with us our guest today, Vivek Bhandari, CEO and founder of Scholarly, and he will take us through the services that Scholarly offers. Before we start, a brief introduction about APAC. We are a media organization headquartered out of Noida with a pan India presence and presence across the Asia Pacific region. We particularly deal with technology deployment across governance, healthcare, education, BFSI, manufacturing, and the likes. I'm sure our viewers today would be enlightened with the information that Vivek will be sharing with us. Without any further ado, I would like Vivek, if you can first take us through the genesis of Scholarly and then give an update on the portfolio of services and solutions that Scholarly offers. Over to you, Vivek.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm Vivek Bhandari. I'm the founder and CEO of Scholarly. So we are a European education company. We are based in Europe, and we have operations in India. We have operations in other countries across the world, and we help students who are interested in studying in various top universities across the globe. The company was founded in 2019, and we provide a multiple number of services, including cognitive and psychometric testing, deciding what subjects to select in school, what subjects to select in your class 11th and 12th, which competitive exams to pursue, what are the geographies which suit your objectives, and what are the other profile building activities, research, competitive exams that you should be appearing for getting admissions to your dream university. This was in 2019, and we work with students in India, we work with students in Europe, we work with students in USA, and we have been extremely successful. Actually, our students have been extremely successful in the admissions to various top universities across the globe. So that, in short, is about Scholarly.
Okay, thank you. When you mentioning since the company is based, I presume in Luxembourg, you're mentioning it.
It's in Malta. Yes, it's in Europe.
Hmm. So, my question is the services or the courses that
Yes.
you offer. So, these will be cross geography. And what I mean to say, a student can be of a particular geography, and in any other geography, he or she can be applied. What I wanted to understand, how does your model operate in terms of what are the sort of affiliations with multiple academic institutions in different geographies? How is that model working?
Great. So let me explain this. So, we started right before COVID, and in 2020, when COVID actually hit, we were in the process of setting up operations. So, for example, we help students do research papers in various subjects during summer and the fall semester. So, we, for example, have a tie-up with universities in the US. The university professors and the faculty, they deliver the courses. So it is university professors who are teaching the course, and it is students in high school. So when I say high school, it's students who are in class 10th, 11th and 12th, who appear for those research papers on an online basis. So the classes are conducted during morning US time, that would be evening time in India, and the students work with the professors. Since they enrolled in a university, there is a certain curriculum, they have access to the university resources, and they join those classes and work with the professors to learn that particular subject or to conduct research in that particular topic. So that's really how it works. And 2020 was the first year when we offered the research papers. So it has been 3 years. So this is the fourth cycle since then. And the experience of the students has been excellent. And that is something which we realized after doing it for a year, that this is something which really adds a lot of value to our students. And it was met with a very positive response from the students and the parents. So I think that probably provides an idea about how the services are delivered, because most of the services are online.
When you were mentioning here, I have a question. Obviously, during the COVID, as you mentioned,
Yes.
most of these offerings and services were done online. Having said that, when you are talking about a lot of these teaching as well as a research thing that you are mentioning, many of the things are based on experiential learning. And this experiential learning, the imparting of that experiential learning, uh, doing that online is a challenge. So, how have you looked at mitigating that challenge here?
Okay. See, when you think about online versus offline, there are two elements that you have to balance. One is in terms of going to a center. Let's say if you're going to a physical center, how much time it's going to take you in terms of transport, how much time it's going to take you to plan, and if the class is cancelled, your whole schedule goes for a toss, especially in case of a physical center. Online has that advantage that you don't have to deal with transport. You just show up for a meeting, or if for some reason your classes some previous classes extended, you can actually attend the class. You can just say that, okay, I'm not able to make this class, and you're able to schedule a new time. Now, that said, the experiential part is very important. So the first part about the experience is having a highly qualified professor or a mentor who is dealing with you. I think that is the most important part. And if they have experience of working with students in the same situation as you, from a student's perspective, that is the advantage, because they know what you're looking for, what are your objectives, and how will you be best positioned to achieve those objectives. The second part is what are the resources that are available to you. So, for example, when we look at research papers, I'll take one example. The students work with a university in the US. So they enrolled in that university during the summer or the fall semester. So they get access to the university's resources, their library, their various research databases, and that allows you to conduct a lot of work. Through actual databases, as if you will be doing it in a university rather than just on plain internet. So I think that accounts for a major resource, and that helps with the quality of research. The other thing is, in some of these courses, now since we offer research in multiple subjects, different professors have a different style. Some professors, for example, the physics professor, for example, he has cameras installed in his spectroscopy lab. So he actually conducts the experiments in the lab, which are online. So the students can see that, okay, this is what he's experimenting with, this is the sample he has put in the machine, these are the readings. So while they're not physically present in the lab, they're able to see a lot of things. They're able to see the equipment, they're able to see what exactly did he did, what were the control parameters he used, and what were the outcomes. So that's how we try to provide a glimpse into highly sophisticated research while still doing it from home.
Okay. The other point I would like to understand, when you earlier mentioned that you are working with multiple academic institutions and universities. So there is a question of these when students are enrolling through you and studying from these different institutions, uh, the question of an uniformity in standard, academic standards across
Mhm.
all the institutions that are affiliated to you. So, how do you maintain that, or how do you monitor that that uniformity or standardization is there?
Okay. So I think there are two parts to this question. So let me first answer the part about institutions which are affiliated with us, and then I can talk maybe about training in general. So, in terms of institutions or professors from those institutions that work with us, one, we look at professors who have extensive experience, who have themselves studied at top universities, and who have the right academic experience and the right research experience, who have a body of research that in that subject, in that field, because then they are in a better position to guide the students. So that part is about one, selecting the right professors and the right institutions initially, and two, uh, sharing with new professors about what is the type of work that has been done, sharing what is the type of work that students want to do, And providing that experience, providing that expectation upfront is actually quite important. So I think that's the first part of the question. And the second part is from a student's perspective, because research is one of the things. Apart from that, we also help students with trainings on courses like SAT or other exams. So on that, we have our own instructors. So that's where we have a certain curriculum. The students would be going through the curriculum, then they would be working with the instructors. So that's internal to us, and that's where we ensure that the quality is maintained and the students get the same experience in order to present their best face to their dream universities.
And how many professors and are sort of already affiliated with you, and how many courses are connected in this program?
Sure. So in last year, there were approximately 120 students who worked with our professors for various subjects for research, and there were 15 professors who worked with the students for these programs.
Okay. And see, one development recently had happened with under the NEP also, and UGC is sort of mandating that these foreign universities can have campuses, physical campuses in India. How will that act as a boost or a catalyst, or will it sort of how will that impact your model as a catalyst or as a disruptor?
See, first of all, I think that's a good move in terms of trying to bring good foreign universities over to India. That's always good because there is a body of research there, there is a certain brand over there, there are certain faculty members who can actually impart high quality education right in the country. So I think overall it's a good measure for the country. From our perspective, what we see is there will always be a demand for some students who want to go to a particular university versus a particular different one. And at the same time, even in terms of a local campus, getting prepared for the right tests. For example, if you want to go to IIT, you have to appear for the JEE. Likewise, if you want to go to some of the top US universities, you have to prepare for SAT or ACT. So the demand for preparation of those courses and demand for your overall holistic development as a high school student, that will be important, and that value add will continue to be required. So we see that that is something that will be required no matter what, where the campus is.
Okay. Another thing is, since a lot of these training and these professors involved are across cross geographies, so often there is a question of your cultural dissimilarity or those functions, the softer functions. So, how would you sort of mitigate those challenges emerging from those things?
See, that's a great question. And when we started in 2020, this was an important factor on our minds as well. So it happens at the time when you're curating the professors or when you're interviewing them and talking about the programs. So you talk about the experience of others, and then you get the professors to do a webinar in which multiple students participate. I think what we have found is there's some professors who have a similar background, who might have studied, who might have done their early studies in a particular country, then who moved to a different country to did their MS or to do their PhD. And those professors seem to have a better connect with students who are international because they have been in that spot themselves 25, 30, 40 years ago. So there is no one answer. It is about one, making the professors aware, being mindful that the cultural issue or the soft issue is also quite important, and then making the professors conduct a webinar which the students can attend so that students understand that what is my professor looking for. And then apart from that, you have to standardize and you have to make sure that if there is any feedback, you listen to it and react accordingly.
Okay, so coming to a more generic thing, in terms of one, um, the trend that you have seen among students. So, which are the top three, four preferable geographies or countries the students have aspired for your data? What is your data show? And how do you advise the students? What should be the best practices or do's and don'ts that they should follow when they are looking for these overseas?
Okay, so great question. So the first part is which geographies seem to have the greatest traffic or the greatest interest. So in our experience, USA continues to be the top geography. A lot of students, especially from Southeast Asia, they're interested in going to US for studies. Especially a lot of students who are interested in computer science or who are interested in business, they find US as a interesting destination. I would say US is closely followed by Canada and then UK and then Australia. And I think the difference is, especially if the student is good or if the parents are very brand conscious, then they're looking for certain top universities in the world. It could be certain Ivy Leagues or certain top universities in US, or it could be Oxford or Cambridge in the UK. Uh, so there is certain amount of brand consciousness, and it also depends upon the subjects. But in our experience, USA continues to be the top destination, followed by Canada, UK, and then Australia. Uh, about the second part of your question, I think this was how do we advise students and how do we help them prepare for what geographies? So the first, it really starts with the assessment of that students' cognitive skills and their behaviors. So we focus a lot on that. So typically with a class 10 student, we would administer certain tests, which gives us an idea about their capabilities in mathematics, their capabilities in logical thinking, their capabilities in English language, and also a psychometric, which helps us understand their behaviors, that what are the things they like to do, what are their motivations, what are the things that they would be interested in doing, how patient they are, how independent they are, how collaborative they are, or how much of a people person they are versus introverted. So basis of all that, it gives us a good idea about that student and the kind of professions they will be successful in. Now, subsequently, our counselors have discussions with the student and the parents together, where you try to understand their academic performance as well as the subjects that they would like to take. So it really starts with selecting the right subjects in your class 11th and 12th. And then this is one important part because this is the academic activity. The second part is understanding your long term objectives, that where would you like to study? Where would you like to live? Do you want to become a doctor? Do you want to practice in India? Do you want to practice overseas? I think that is the second part of the equation. And then the third part of the equation is your financial ability. Because while a few students get big scholarships, education abroad is not necessarily cheap, and there is a certain outgo also involved. So, what we tell parents and students is you should not take a unnecessary pressure that you have to go abroad at any cost, or even if it is difficult financially, you still have to try to go to abroad, studies abroad for college. So, financial ability is an important part. There is excellent education available, for example, in India. And if financial constraints are there, you should look at pursuing your college in India. And then maybe later on at the postgraduate level, there are more opportunities available, there are more financial support available. Plus, you have also matured. So that's how you try to balance these three aspects. One is about the cognitive and psychometric ability of the student. The second is their interests and what do they want to do in the long term. And third is their financial ability. So, based on all these three, our team develops uh, different paths for different students, and then we help them customize and achieve those roadmaps that have been set out for them.
So, how are these customizations done? What sort of customizations you're talking there?
Sure. See, so every student is unique, and for example, let's think about India for a moment. If you plan to be an engineer, you have to appear for the IIT JEE. And the most important parameter is the exam. You have to crack the test. The other parameters, extracurriculars that you have done, Other parameters, any other things that you have done are relatively less important. It's really the test. Likewise, in India, if you want to become a doctor, you have to crack the NEET exam, right? On the other hand, if you look at USA, they are on the opposite end of the spectrum. uh, there is no single parameter on which an admission is granted. So they look at multiple things. They look at your academic performance, which is very important. They also look at your leadership skills. They look at any research work that you have done. They look at any initiative that you have shown. So there are multiple different things that also go into your decision, admission decision, apart from academics. So this is where our team helps understand that students' strengths, their interests, and the kind of things apart from studies that they will be doing in order to create a holistic profile for their admissions. So that's where the customization comes in. If somebody is good in sport, for example, then along with his study, maybe he can pursue a particular sport. Maybe he can pursue some other. He can read a certain books. He can probably participate in some research, and that helps develop that student more holistically, and that also helps him with his admissions. So that's where the customization comes in.
Okay, thanks. So coming to a more contemporary thing, this SAT becoming digital.
Mhm.
So how that would impact? What is your opinion on that?
So last year there was a news that SAT has gone digital, and this year actually in March, the SAT that was conducted in a digital format. I think from a student's perspective, what we have seen is the length of the test has become shorter. Instead of a 3 hour test, it's now become a 2 hour test. Uh, the number of questions have reduced. So in the mathematics section, the questions have become slightly tougher than before. And in the English section, they have shortened the passages. So the students have to have a good understanding of English language. They have to have a very strong vocabulary in order to answer those questions. So long term, in terms of effect on students, it's not really a major effect. They're still appearing for a test in math and English. They have to prepare somewhat differently. Secondly, the test is online, so it is expected that you will get your results much faster than in the past. In the past, it takes 2 weeks or even more for the results to come out. Now, with the SAT going digital, ultimately we expect that the results will come out much sooner. And since they move to a digital medium, the students' practice will also move to digital. And the main advantage is if you're practicing in a digital medium, you get a lot of analytics about how have you done, which are the type of questions you're doing well in, which are the type of questions where you're making mistakes, and where do you want to focus your performance. And I think that is actually a big positive, because in a paper based test, after completing the test, you take a lot of time to understand your mistakes and to correct them and to focus on the areas of improvement. Whereas if you're practicing in a digital medium, you get that feedback almost instantaneously. And I think that's going to be an advantage from a preparation perspective. But it's still going to be competitive. Students will still have to study maths and English, and it will be a similar kind of a test.
Okay, and in terms of the coming maybe couple of years, if we look at where do you see the trend and pattern of students moving to different geographies, studying, and how will that impact scholarly? Is your business aligned to the changing pattern or trend of students looking at studying in other geographies?
So, see, our students are located across the world. So, we have students, most of our students in India are in India, but we have students in Europe, we have students in USA. So, in terms of students moving abroad, we expect that USA, Canada, UK will continue to be the most favored destinations for foreign students. They have some good universities. They also have a lot of brand recognition. And if you study at a top university, it helps you because even if you decide to work in a different geography, the brands are well recognized. So we expect that that trend of people wanting to go abroad will continue. What we are also seeing is, for example, if you look at the India market, it's a large market, and you have different segments in the market. There may be some people who find it affordable to go abroad. There may be some who can do it, but it requires a little bit of stretch. And then there is a large population who still needs skill enhancement while they're studying in India or while they're studying from good institutes in India. I think that's an equally good option. So what we see is we are in the field of training and development. So we are helping students with their training. It could be in the field of exams like SAT or ACT. It is in the field of holistic profile development or customizing their profiles. So we feel quite excited about the direction the market is going in, and we look forward to growing in the next few years.
So last, I would like to conclude with if you can give the overall, what are the main action plans from scholarly perspective, if I may ask for the next 6 7 quarters, future course of action or the main plans that can be anything on in terms of expansion or new offerings, new services. So what are those plans?
Sure. So, I mean, on that perspective, so we have recently developed some modules for online training for SAT. For example, you asked about SAT going digital. So that is something which is currently under test. It's in a beta version right now, and hopefully by end of this month, that is something that will come out, and our students will be able to use it on the site. So that is something we are quite excited with, and then we expect that similar tests or similar capability could be extended to other tests which are in a multiple choice format. So, for example, other tests like GMAT or other tests like some other tests which are conducted in this form could be there. So, from our perspective, we will continue to focus on these top 4 5 markets that I mentioned. Other than that, we are expanding our counseling team. We expanding our instructors, and we are also working with more professors for conducting the research papers for our students. So in the next 6 to 8 quarters, we would expect to enhance both the number of tests that we are covering, and two, the geographies that we are servicing for our students.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Rajneesh. Pleasure meeting you, and thanks for having us here.